Good morning and welcome to Chapter 13, Recognizing the Role of Attachments in Conflict. Most of us have an ideal version of how we think the world should be. I have to, you must, they should, it has to be. When we hear these words, we are listening to the voices of our narrators, expressing an agreement that is at a higher level of attachment. The narrators are reminding us how things are to progress within a framework of our understanding in order for the world to be the way we want it or expect it to be. These are the rules we have created for ourselves to live by, and if we fail to follow these rules, we judge ourselves and others harshly. We have to get it right, or our beliefs dictate to us what that means. Depending on our level of attachment to a particular belief, we may not waver in the least, remaining so close-minded that we cannot even think about alternatives. Whenever we hear someone say that the world should be such and such a way, as beautiful as the idea may be, we must realize that it can be easily corrupted. Because for the world to be in this ideal state, the idealist must impose his or her beliefs on others and subjugate those who refuse to fit in with their perfect image of the world. Sometimes we think that the only way to make someone a better person, and by extension, make the world a better place, is to convince them that they should see things our way. But there are plenty of people around us who don't behave the way we think they should, and we waste energy trying to convince them to be something they are not, instead of allowing them to be who they are. When we think that we know more or better than someone else, we are setting ourselves up for a clash of beliefs. This is what corrupts a beautiful idea. The idea can be anything: organic food, civil rights, tolerance, animal rights, world peace, or any seemingly noble idea you could think of. A fanatical attachment to any of these ideas will create more harm than good, and once the attachment to the belief outweighs the importance of the message, it corrupts the idea. Respect is lost, and freedom is compromised. Without respect for the freedom of choice, peace is not possible. When we become attached to these noble beliefs, we use guilt or place conditions on others to encourage them to conform to our standards. We know we are doing this when we hear ourselves say, "Aren't you ashamed of what you're doing? How could you be so thoughtless?" To bend others to our will, we look for anything that tugs at their emotional structure. And when we cannot find any buttons to push, we may become even angrier or more uncompromising. In the case of loved ones who we feel are harming themselves through bad habits, we may think by installing fear in them we can bring them lasting change. "You must get help. You have to let me help you. You should not be doing this to yourself." Unfortunately, this type of approach simply causes more pain. Someone who is shamed into making changes isn't changing anything. We are free to choose our beliefs and create our attachments from our own point of view. There is no one master plan that we all must follow or perish. There is 7 billion people living in our world, and there are 7 billion different points of view. And if we each insist that only our point of view is valid, then we would also have 7 billion clashes in the world. As long as we engage in the "I am right and you are wrong" struggle, there will always be conflict. It is our attachment to being right, our attachment to our own personal importance, that keeps us from experiencing freedom in both our personal dream and the dream of the planet. Freedom of choice is not about being right or wrong, it's about opening up the channels of communication and respecting one another as human beings in order to create a community that we can share with one another. When we become too attached to an ideal, the first thing that we lose is respect. First for the people around us, and eventually for ourselves. While our points of view may differ, we are all products of the same source. The only thing that separates us is our attachment to our own point of view and our attachments to the belief that others must share it. This is where we begin putting conditions on our love for one another, and this is the source of conflict. Defending our ideals. Once we are aware of your beliefs, you'll be able to question your ideals and viewpoints. With awareness, this question will no longer shake your foundation. You'll no longer find yourself defending your viewpoints or imposing them upon others. If two people have very different beliefs argue, the argument might never end. In an attempt to convince each other to change, to fit their version of what they each believe is true, they create a veil between them. Their inability to listen results in a lack of respect. Although it may appear that one side is ahead for a while and then the other, as long as each side is attached to their beliefs, the battle will never end. It is only when one person is able to step back and listen to the other without judgment that there is potential for a shift to occur. By consistently questioning our own beliefs, we open up infinite possibilities and avoid getting trapped inside a closed mind that only wants to be right. We do not need to defend ourselves or our beliefs against other people's opinions and beliefs. Our only need is self-respect. And when we have self-respect, we do not take what other people say and do personally. If we give in to the temptation to make someone else's actions a personal affront, we have lost that self-respect by saying yes to their agreement. Once we do this, the attachment to this belief makes it necessary for us to switch our motive from one of defense to offense. With one shift, we could easily go from being victim to aggressor, which has a whole new set of consequences. By not taking things personally, we do not give in to our personal importance and can therefore make decisions based on mutual respect that will solve problems instead of making them worse. Recently, a worker came to my home and installed something. As I do with anyone who comes in my home, I sat and spoke with him, asking him questions and watching him work. As he asked me what I did, I explained a little about what I do. He grew agitated, saying that there is only one truth, there is only one way, and everyone else just wants your money. He spoke about his pastor and the teachings of his church, reiterating that there is only one way. I didn't argue with him, I just listened to what he was saying. By my grandmother's application, that is learning. And he was leaving. As he was leaving, he said to me, "When I die, I only have to answer to one person. And if I'm wrong, well, I'll find out then." He went to tell me that the reason he believes is not because he has love or faith, but because he wants to get into heaven. This was his main purpose. At least, that's what he said to me. He said, "Miguel, you could say whatever you want to all those people, but remember, there is only one way, one truth." Through listening to him, I had indeed learned something. He shared his belief system, but that was not what I learned. What I learned was that he honestly believed what he was telling me, and who am I to say otherwise? Had I felt the need to retort, this would have been based on my own attachment to my identity and beliefs, and a battle of personal importance would have begun between us. The worker showed me that if I had chosen to argue with him, I would be forming my own attachments to knowledge, which had nothing to do with him. This gave me the freedom of choice. I was able to look at my beliefs square in the face and choose to listen to both him and myself. How he chooses to live his life has no bearing on how I live mine. Although I could see how his attachments and his knowledge control him, I know that is not my place to object. Instead of blindly and deftly arguing a point fueled by our personal importance, we could at least be willing to admit that we might be wrong or that the situation can be looked at from an entirely different perspective. As in case of the worker, when we choose to share our truth with others from this place, we can begin building mutual respect. When we look at our beliefs and viewpoints with an open mind, it becomes clear to us how attached we are to our own beliefs. Being aware of our attachment allows us to regain power over our freedom to choose whether or not we want to continue to hold them. The choice is crucial. Sometimes we choose to root for our home team and to debate religion and politics with our family. And sometimes we choose to devote a portion of our life to a cause or a movement, and sometimes we choose not to. Having awareness, however, will let us know if our personal importance begins to corrupt the essence of whatever activity we have chosen to engage in. If we find ourselves vehemently defending our position or cause, it means our attachment has crowded out our awareness. Listening to what others say without giving their words power over us allows us to become aware of our own truth. It enables us to see what is real for us and what is just an illusion, a lie fueled by personal importance. The gift of listening will expose any illusions of personal importance. If we are coming from a place of awareness, our truth does not need to be defended through the ego-feeding mechanics of an argument. It requires very little energy on our part to simply state our truth, if we choose to state it. When the truth is simple, you know your foundation is solid. Of course, there may come a time to stand up for that truth. If that time comes, you can be confident that you are standing on firm ground with full awareness of the power of your own will. There comes a point in life when we grow tired of needing to be right, especially when we see how this ego-feeding needs affects our relationships with people who just want to be our friends, with beautiful souls who just want to love us. Our attachments don't let us see further than the tips of our own noses. We all have a catalyst, a call to action, which moves us into making change in our life. The catalyst almost always comes from outside of us, but as we become aware of how our filter of knowledge is constructed, we realize that lasting change only comes from within. Our changes affect how we interact with people in our life and impact the communal dream, the dream of the planet. If I am the one who says yes or no, I am the one who has made all my agreements, and I am the only one who is able to change them. When I see how my attachments are affecting my relationship with myself and the dream of the planet, I realize that I am the only one who can change it. This is the awakening of our intention in the form of our free will. As you embark on the final chapter of this book, I wish to leave you with the idea that it is truly possible to engage in our human existence while seeing beyond our attachments and fully experiencing life. My intention is that this final chapter will provide you with the tools to help you exercise your free will. That is the power you have, and I celebrate that to the fullest, and I only share my words. I have no power over you. As these words reach you, you're the one who says, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree. That is freedom of choice. That concludes chapter 13. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on chapter 14.